Hey there. Good afternoon. Oh man, I have been having some serious fucking technical difficulties the last couple weeks with my damn computer. It sucks. So that's why it's been a while. In fact, I had prepared this video probably like a week and a half ago, and oh man, all sorts of issues. But hey, I'm back. I also this week I just don't have a quote. I just really couldn't be inspired to one, and so this is breaking from tradition with no quote. But it's also a little bit different too, so that's okay. So, so this is what I call the preparations of the mind for the coming transition. Um, and I'm being a little vague about transition, but you'll understand because we are in what you would call a transitional period. We are also in a period where things can go one way or the other. Um, so I'm hoping that this provides some better perspective for everybody, and hopefully is a decent guideline to get people started, so they don't freak out when something happens and the media tells them one thing and tells them not to support it or tells them to support it. So, the Patriot here, uh, uh, I'm just reading a little off because I started not the way it was scripted. So that sounded stupid. Sorry. So many of you who, we would call the light workers and the truthers have been very busy spreading information and brainstorming solutions. And keep up the good work. I encourage you. Here's the update. The media, including controlled alternative medias, will be running preliminary propaganda to have what is left of the New World Order to pick up the fragments of the old system and try to bring them back when the collapse of their system comes. It's that effort to make you want them. It's kind of like, remember the end of V for Vendetta just before the revolution, when the media just hyped up 20 million things like, oh my god, there's a new flu outbreak, there's a breakdown of this, that, and the other thing, there's a massive civil war going on in America, anything to make the people reassured in the dictatorship over there in England. That's sort of what we're going to be seeing. It'll look a little bit like that, and you have to discern because there's going to be lots of truth. In fact, it might be the situation may be all true. Everything they may be reporting may be things actually happening. The difference is that how they report it, how they make it look. Like Syria, there's a real revolution for people to have freedom and dignity in Syria. How they're making it look is probably another thing altogether. I don't know. It's always good to side with the people, but the question is, are those that are helping the people truly have the best people's interests at hearts? Of course, I'm talking about the those in the military that have diverged, because it went from a straight up people's revolt to now it's the defectors of the military versus the regular government. Is that a good thing? I think we are going to see a fall of the Assad regime, but is it just going into the hands of controlled opposition? This concerns me. This is part of the reason why alleged good guys in our U.S. military haven't done a coup already for the crap that they're doing, because they're wiser than that. They're smarter than that. They don't want to do that. There's still a belief in the system. There's still a belief in what they are serving in the military for, and that ethic of civilian control of the population, which is something that we do not see in Egypt right now, for instance, where the government is practically a figurehead at this point once the civilian government dropped. So, we are currently in a full swing media war between us and them over the perception of reality as the prize. So, what to expect and how to know what is really going on. Let's go through a few main scenarios, and these are not complete by any stretch, but these are pretty well thought out by the way my thinking logic works, and I hope it helps you. So, thing one that everybody's thinking of is the economic collapse. So let's set it up. You wake up this morning and you turn on the local news, and word is the euro has collapsed, and it's affecting the Federal Reserve. Prices skyrocket. Businesses and alphabet agencies are out of money, under threat of closure, etc., etc. The first question you must ask is, by design or failure of what we have known? So how do we tell? The first sign is who is being blamed. Then what is the logical path for that allegation? If the blames don't expose new faces and names associated with the finance world, then odds are it's a controlled psyop to manipulate you, because we've been working at the same blame game all the time. With Ron Paul's and the Fed out there, even to say Ben Bernanke, which yes, he's partially at fault, it turns him into a pansy. It might be the one reason why they're not being more aggressive with trying to silence Ron Paul, is that they'll probably try to use end the Fed against us by saying, okay, we got rid of the chairman of the Fed and everything's good, or see, we've completely changed the Federal Reserve and now it's owned by the Treasury, which it always was owned by the Treasury, by the way. Geithner is running the show, and it had nothing to do with Ben Bernanke putting Geithner in there, or whatever you want to say it was. Deeper issues, you got to look at a little bit deeper into the way the global banking system works. Check out some of my older videos, it gets into it. So, the most appropriate places to look for true blame would be the Rothschild system, the Swiss bank, the royal families of England, and of course, as I always remind you, the Vatican. Of course, the Vatican Bank in particular. Rome is falling, and this time we will know the facts and forge our own destinies. The attempt of the puppet governments will be to pass the debt to the people. Regardless of the blame game, the solution must rest in severing ourselves from all foreign economic money systems until a full investigation is reached, until we have a system that is completely transparent, that doesn't have any ties to anything else. Or at least nothing in secret that we don't consent to and don't have any real control over. We have to be really careful about that, and it's better to just not. You know what I mean? And the more we prove to them that we don't need them, the more that if they want to have any kind of the good life that maybe their abilities merit, the more they realize that they have to work with us. And, because remember, I'm with you guys on Occupy Wall Street, but I'm also not a socialist. I am a free market person. So we have to evaluate how we do business, starting with barter, and then eventually working on a trusted means of exchange. I plan on doing a bit on Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged when I'm finished with it. I'm only about halfway through chapter 22 or something, like the beginning of the third book, basically. But I'll tell you this much. What really, really amused me, that I'll tell you right now, is that when the main character finally gets to the point in the book where basically Ayn Rand is making her big expose of her idealistic society, when they get to what she actually calls in the book Atlantis, or what you would call a neo-Atlantis, that's run by a 1% group that is sick of the government and gets completely away from them. It's a goddamn co-op, which is something that hippies and people of socialist-minded ways do. Where they take all their lives and their resources and their efforts and and everything they want to do, and they start a secret community. They have their brilliant minds, they have some excellent technology and all this, that, and the other thing, and it's everything that we idealistically thought of in a co-op, which has always been an idea being held by those that are liberal-minded and whatever. I'm going to get into it when I get into that, but I just wanted to say that real quick, that Miss Ayn Rand, it just shocked me when I got to that part in the book, And it doesn't say co-op or anything like that. In the 1950s, they didn't have a word for such a thing anyway. But after reading the chapter where it goes through the motions and where she shows you the whole civilization, I'm just like, it's a co-op. The only difference is that it's a co-op by people that are rich, that have resources and are brilliant minds, instead of just the common folk like you and me. And oh yeah, and the other thing is that the reason why they made their co-op in secret is to be out of government, is because they were putting the human mind on strike. That's funny, because striking is a reserved power within unions. And so without being in a union, they go on strike, which is usually considered a socialist means to an end. So Ayn Rand impresses me. I got my grievances with her, but she impresses me. But moving on to the reason why I'm doing this this damn video, excuse me. All right, so let's move to another scenario. Ever since 9/11, we worry about false flags. So this one is pretty easy to follow your intellect. And do your research. You'll be able to identify the insiders, even if it is a real serious tragedy. We all have to look out for each other. I think we live in a world where everything and anything is being videotaped. I mean, we had plenty of videotapes and internet in 2001, and it's just even more so with just A, the way technology has increased, and B, just people want to be interested in that, whether you're hoping to catch a UFO over your house one day, or you just want to document your life's journey, or if you're in the middle of a protest and you're making sure justice has been recorded. The next thing that happens, I guarantee you there will be more eyes watching it, and we will be able to know everything. Because remember, after 9/11, sadly, there's maybe only 2 public videos in existence of the first hit by the first plane, because it was a surprise and everything else. I mean, now we live in a police state where everything's on camera, and all it takes is one rogue DHS agent that looks at all these damn cameras who wishes that DHS was doing what it was supposed to be doing and says, fuck this, it's unethical, I'm releasing this to the public, and hopefully this will change the world, make it a better place. That's a plausible thing that could happen. So just be on the lookout, and I guarantee you that anything that's major, anything that would require a lot of expertise to do is going to be some sort of an inside job, or if not an inside job, an outside job by a friend. It's just I'm not 100%. I don't 100% know exactly how much Israel might have had to do with 9/11. There's definitely some evidence for that, but one way or the other, it's definitely connected to our own security, because at the end of the day, we did allow it to happen. And just don't let the media control the conversation. I implore you. All right, so global natural disasters is another one. This one is a bit tricky. It could be HARP, but rumor has it HARP is no longer under Illuminati control. But China, Russia, even Australia, all have their own versions of HARP. The technology is being spread around in the East and the West amongst the most wealthy and in power nations and puppet states, etc. But it also could be real. Most doomsday scenarios are fear porn, but that is okay, because if you hadn't noticed, since about the end of last year, most earthquakes are calmed down. Look for patterns that don't fit natural Earth behavior, and don't trust the U.S. Geological Survey, the USGS, and other such official organizations. They're there to support the fiction. Maybe some of the raw data, no. But as far as our interpretation of the data, that's a different story. But data can be tampered with. We're in a world of universal deceit. Find somebody who's interested in finding the truth, who's smart about these things. Have them look into it. Just like we have people looking for the truth that are technical engineers for 9/11 collapse, etc., etc. It's still a big argument for a portion of the population. I recently got in one on my Facebook page with someone who's a friend of mine. He just comes from the more naive point of view of the world. But what are you gonna do? So now World War III. This one is losing a lot of steam. The big issue is balance of power. Remember the super drone we lost? Yeah, that drone was quadruple encrypted. In other words, it was unhackable. And now Iran, Russia, and China have it, as well as by proxy Pakistan and other allied nations of the East. What this means is they can beat us in the tech control wars. They can hack our systems now, our best systems. So unless they want to disclose UFOs, and start bombing, fucking Iran, with anti-gravity ships with cloaking tech and all that nonsense that we know that they have. World War III is not going to happen unless they're ready to disclose or prepared to deal with information control when they do. It's partially about DARPA, but it goes deeper than that as well, because a lot of it is completely private contracted and goes well into the realm of the other, and it's just where the government turns a blind eye. DARPA is very much a public face of military black ops, just because it's more there so other people can see that we have a military black ops to make them scared. So another country could be like, look at what America can do, will do, yada yada yada. It's complicated. I'm ranting a bit, and I'm in a very ranty mood today. I'm in a good mood today. Also, the core of the Navy, and at least half of the Pentagon, is against war and disregarding all orders not authorized by Congress, and then some. It's tricky, but basically, certain aspects of our Defense Department should not be participating in another Libya type event. That's what I'm getting at. So that's partially good news. It's tricky because they have to respect civilian authority, and they will respect civilian authority because they know what it's like if, unfortunately, it goes into a situation where military takes control. Even if it means to do well, it's too much potential for problems. Military coups are not a good thing 99% of the time. It's parts of the reason why why Rome had so many problems. The old Roman Empire, the official Roman Empire of the turn of the millennium. Anyway, long story short, World War III would not be fought from a position of strength, but also the enemies of our country know that the country is not the real threat and have no interest in hurting us if they have a choice. Ultimately, it's up to us to keep the government in check right now. Washington is not in harmony with the Constitution, and the alternatives aren't public yet. The day the earth stood still. Yes, there might be a internet shutdown or an electrical grid shutdown. It could be solar flares, but it could also be the beast. They will blame this on China and or Anonymous or some other existential threat. Just be smart about things and prove that a power out isn't going to turn us into savages. Don't give them... don't make it look like they actually needed a reason to perpetuate the police state or have stronger regulations controlling certain things that we've all enjoyed the luxury of for so long, that we paid for with our hard-earned money. We don't pay taxes on to have an internet service. It's a privately funded service. It's the government has little to no regulation over it. It's almost hard to do. And they can't really just shut down the internet unless it's a last resort thing. Why? Because everything is running off of these .coms and off the general World Wide Web that's available to the public, and especially our commerce system. you know, the internet, etc., etc. You know, you could be cutting off the economies of parts of other parts of the world, you know, aspects of England, et cetera, just by cutting off the internet here, so on and so forth. So relax. What Mubarak did in Egypt, trying to quell the revolution, is not going to happen. But kind of like in the movie 300 about Leonidas being worried about Xerxes killing him. It's just like, pray they are that stupid. You know what I mean? It's just like, go ahead, instigate everybody else into coming against you. Please do it. Attack us. You know, that's kind of the idea. You know, because everything they do partially has to do with how can they take over without getting people to go against them. You know, because they can't do it if we all stand up and go against them or just non-comply. So anyway, Project Bluebeam. Okay, everybody knows the government can mock UFOs and alien advanced tech, or even Earth secret tech. Now, let's be real. We know aliens do exist. Only two reasons they aren't hanging out with us right now. First would be global culture shock. Not enough people understand what non-human sentient life is. Second, because the government can fake aliens. They are waiting for that veil to drop first. It is necessary to stop our own annihilation, because most aliens like Earth. You know, I'm of course making this assumption because most word that I get from people that are allegedly being contacted that seem to have interesting information or are part of the government that have leaked or whatever, it's all generally that, and that there are evil aliens too, but most of them, you get the point. And even if none of that was true, we know that this secret tech has been working on, even if it has nothing to do with Atlantis and finding old tech. We got the whole, you know, we got everything that was developed by Nikola Tesla and everything else. It's very, very interesting. You might want to check out people like Nassim Haramein or some of the works of David Wilcock, etc., etc. It takes a lot of discernment of alleged contactees and channelers to come to this conclusion, as I have. All right, it's a big, long thing, and I'm just trying to sum up preparing for 2012 bullshit. So bear with me. Thank you so much for your patience. Long story short, ultimately, aliens want to help us, but need the Illuminati out of the way. You know, and they're mostly busy with the evil aliens that are helping the evil people out there. All sorts of nonsense about the undersea bases and underground bases and draconian this, that, and the other thing, and some of the humans that work directly with them and are the direct emissaries to them, and you get the point. We have to make sure we have gotten to the bottom of the conspiracy. Bluebeam also includes the second coming of Christ and the 12th Imam and other prophetic illusions, because part of that is working within the frame of getting people that are highly religious to accept it in their psyche. Lesser concerns to watch for are drug war fronts, race war fronts, and of course co-opted revolutions. Right now, Trayvon Martin is becoming a martyr in the black community by design, including the new Black Panther Party coming out of nowhere, so just keep your eyes and ears open. Yes, racism is real, but ask yourself what people's goals are other than lynching George Zimmerman, because that's all it is. That's all it is, just this absolute need to lynch George Zimmerman, to hang him out to dry. It's a fucking modern day witch hunt. I don't like it. All right, you know, maybe he needs to be convicted of murder. You need to let the investigation do its job. It may be hard to get a real trial, a real and fair trial, because this is what happens when everybody does it. Somebody was telling me when I was arguing about this, yeah, and what if Trayvon Martin was your son? And I would have said, like, yeah, and if Trayvon Martin was my son, I wouldn't want CNN fucking putting his face all over the place and getting the whole goddamn world involved with it. You know? It's fucking embarrassing and terrible. I hate it. So, the last thing we all need to do which is the point of making this video, is getting the word out to the sleepers. When it hits, it will be very violent on their egos. Some people will act irrationally. It's gonna blow up on the internet, and the internet is here to help. All right, so that's what you got to do. You know, talk to people you know in the way that you know how to talk to them. If you understand their logic point of view, you know, like, because definitely don't just show them my video, especially if they're really, really, really asleep, like some of my friends are. You know, because a lot of them know in the back of my head where I might be going with things, and I try to suppress that, per se. You know, and I try to say, okay, look, forget that. I'm not talking about that, but this I can prove to you is real, you know, and some simpler, more mundane thing. I'll tell you this much. The most hopeless are the ones that can't believe that something was wrong with 9/11. 9/11 is the great paradigm shift. It is the beginning of it all, because it starts with us realizing what is wrong with ourselves. And that's a good thing, despite the tragedy it took to make it happen. All right, everybody. So I finally got this goddamn thing out of the way. Almost half an hour. Good. I wanted some longer videos on here anyway. I needed to put some good juicy content for you. Also, making up for lost time. I'm so sorry. But these videos are back and better than ever. All right, man. Kick ass and namaste.